survived the Yugoslav Civil War and immigrated to Canada at the age of 10. The daughter of two painters, she was naturally attracted to understand the secrets of the universe, and in 2005 enrolled in engineering at the University of Toronto, switched to physics, then ran out of money in third year. Landing a job at BlackBerry, Natalija discovered working 9 to 5 and fell in love with it. She runs a math tutoring program in collaboration with VOLUTION, helping low-income girls reach their potential. Please help me welcome Natalija to the stage.
Thank you. Quick tip for women in STEM, always put your notes on a coaster. First of all, I just want to say, give yourselves a great round of applause for being here. In some way, you made it. You are either a woman in STEM or you're going to become a woman in STEM very soon. And that means, do I have to have a mic? Okay. Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear my voice?
Yeah.
I think it's fine. And that means that you've actually opened yourself up to a door of possibilities that other people who haven't figured that out haven't even realized it. And so for that, I also want to thank our fearless leader, Doina, for her inspirational speech and for running her VOLUTION. Truly an inspiration, and to all the volunteers as well who made this possible. Now, I'm going to start with a personal story, and hopefully I can walk around a little bit. I don't know if you're recording.
It's all good.
It's fine. So obviously I grew up in Yugoslavia. You heard the introduction. And we moved, so my mom's here as well. We moved to Croatia, which was at the time a province in Yugoslavia. And when the war broke out, a couple of different measures began against this because we were ethnic Serbs. So I don't know if you guys have heard of the word ethnic cleansing, but that's essentially what happened. Immediately after the war broke out, my mom was not allowed to work as a history of art teacher. My parents were asked to close their art gallery, and our passports were actually colored red to indicate that we were ethnic Serbs. I didn't know this as a kid. We actually traveled all over Europe selling our artwork, and I thought it was great. This is an adventure. We get to travel everywhere in Europe. So my parents did a really, really good job of keeping that from me. And when I started elementary school, my mom decided that if I went to learn a second language, Italian, that would have worked out really well for me. How right was she that learning a second language was the right thing to do? Because now I'm here. Now I speak English. And now I can communicate with all of you. 1 year after I started at the Italian school, another law was passed to say that Serbians could not go to an Italian school. Fortunately, my community helped us. They gave us food when we were starving. They did not tell anybody that I was at the school, so I was able to remain. And for that, I am greatly thankful. And I did not plan on tearing up here for you today. So when we came here, I was 10. And because my parents are artists, I kind of lived in like a little liberal bubble. Anything was possible, even drawing on the walls was possible. And so for me, this concept that there was an idea of gender in STEM didn't exist. If I wanted to buy pink shoes, no, forget it. You cannot have anything pink. You gotta be cool. That's why I really wear a lot of pink today. And it wasn't until I began studying physics at the University of Toronto that I even realized there was a problem. Because I was literally one of 2 women in my classes. One of 2. And it was actually then that I began to fail. My grades were poor. I couldn't achieve the next level of mathematical proficiency that I needed to do to become a math professor and a physicist. And I couldn't understand why. And I was actually obsessed with that. Now, I finished my degree, I got that check mark done, but in my last year, I was obsessed and I wanted to know the answer. So I started looking into what caused the gender gap. And so that's what really I'm here to talk to you about today. So I'm here to talk to you about the M in STEM, math. Because gender inequality is not equal across different areas of knowledge. It's actually the greatest in mathematics. Biology is almost on par. Today, doctors under the age of 35 are actually 50% female. So the future doctors of our generation have already reached equality. But in math and physics, it's terribly bad. And so I worked with a group of students to do a research review of all the causes of the gender gap in STEM. And we found that there was no difference in the way that girls think. There's no implications for them in terms of like how society thinks about them. It's literally came down to the fact that there was a stereotype around who should and shouldn't be a physicist, who should and shouldn't be a mathematician. And the mere fact that I was aware of this stereotype, the mere fact that I had began to hear stereotypes in my classes, actually caused my performance to suffer. And I became scared and uncertain. Was it because I was a woman that I was failing? Maybe I wasn't meant to be here. Now, I went in a different direction and I did sales, technical sales, and I'm a solution engineer now at Salesforce. So if you're interested in that path, it really requires people who have both people skills and technical skills to work with customers. So it's definitely a job that I love and somewhere where I want to be today. But I realized somewhere down the line that the way math is taught is actually what I would say anti-girl. Okay? And so the number one reason that it's anti-girl, there's two reasons. Confidence destroying and lack of thinking abilities that are actually more salient for women. So as an example, let's say you're in school and you get a mark on your paper and you get an F on your English paper and you get an F on your math paper. Students react to those two grades very differently. They get an F on English, they're like, oh, I didn't study hard enough. I should try harder next time. They get an F on math, and what you'll hear students say is, I'm not good at math. This is not for me. All of a sudden, they just like give up. And math is very anxiety inducing for a lot of individuals. And it's even worse if you compound it on the fact that women are coming into this with lower confidence and lower self-esteem. So for them, there's a compounding effect. As soon as they get an F in math, they quit. And we actually found that there was a cumulative effect. There's a train that runs through all of our education, and every step of the way, women fall off the train of their math education. So even in grade 1, if we are equal, by the time we're in university, the gap keeps growing and growing and growing. And that's how I knew that the issue has to start in elementary. The way that we're teaching math today is not conducive to gender equality. One of them is confidence seeking. So for example, you guys have heard that a lot of kids don't even know their multiplication tables, right? You guys have seen that. We used to learn multiplication tables like clockwork. Certainly I was of that school of thought at the time. In fact, there are studies that suggest that women might be better at memorization. And we've changed the curriculum from memorizing the multiplication table to visualizing what multiplication means. Like, what the heck does that even do? And so what happens is now girls get confused. They can't memorize, they can't use the best parts of their brains, and they become even more sedentary. So I began tutoring in math as a side job. I never thought I'd like it, but I actually love it when I was working at IBM. And now I'm tutoring at Salesforce with Doina's help. And what I find works with girls actually is to take the anxiety and the crazy emotions that go into your math performance and take it down a notch and say, just because you failed so far, first of all, it doesn't mean anything. The number of hours that you put into something are the number of hours that you're going to get results. It's simple. It's actually a very simple mathematical equation. Input in, output out. Doesn't get any simpler than that, right? But a lot of kids actually don't know that because they're so wrapped up in their failures in math to begin with. And so we start from basics. And we just work on problem solving over and over and over again. And I help them build what I call memory maps. So you take a look at word problems. They're extremely hard to deconstruct. And you figure out a way to categorize those problems and create a visual diagram for what the problem represents. And that's going to help women to categorize problems and say, this is not a set of 30 questions. This is a set of 3 different types of questions, which I already know how to do. And then they just do the questions over and over and over and over and over and over again until they memorize all the previous questions that they've done. And now they start to get better. They start to answer the questions. And the little bit that you build that confidence up, the more that whole thing that keeps them down shatters. Because confidence is so wrapped up in math performance. So first, start from confidence. Find in yourself the confidence to say, this has nothing to do with gender. I just didn't try hard enough. I need to work harder. And that's okay, because math is it's very tough. It needs a lot of time. And the worst thing is it requires a base, and then you're required to sort of it's a cumulative pyramid, right? Because you start from somewhere and then it builds and builds and builds and builds. And so if you don't have the base, it's very difficult to get to the top, right? So at every moment in my math tutoring class, if there's a base that they don't understand, they're working through a problem, but they don't know how to multiply, forget it. We're just gonna focus on multiplying. Because once they get that, they're gonna reach the top very, very quickly. So what can you do? Well, we do free math tutoring in Salesforce. If you work for an organization, you can do that as well. In fact, Doina is very, very good at sourcing and finding girls who could use this type of tutoring. And what she has said is very, very important: diversity and role models. I find that if we have women teaching women, then that whole, okay, maybe it's because I'm a woman that I'm not good at math, kind of goes away, because I'm learning from the best and the brightest who are also women. So you're kind of leading by example. So if you have that ability to do not-for-profit work at your organization, I highly encourage you to help the younger generation, because you guys are here are like, you guys are fine, like you figured it out. You're confident in yourself and you decided that you love STEM. But there's lots of girls that just didn't go into it because they failed. They fell off the train at every single step of the way. And so if we're ever gonna attack the problem of lack of diversity, we have to start with the fundamentals and then build. And unless we fix the fundamentals, it doesn't matter, we're not gonna get to the top. We need to help girls and encourage girls that they're not bad at math, that they can do this, that you are there to help them, and that there are tons of women who've made it, who've been successful, who made a career at a STEM. So if you're interested in setting this up, we're just starting out. You can come to me, ask me how you can do that for your organization, even your school. It's all volunteer based, because math tutoring can be pretty expensive, $40 to $60 an hour. People in the lower income tier can't afford that. And the nice thing about these students, they go through an application process. They're extremely motivated. I used to be a for-profit math tutor, and I cannot believe the difference in the effort that these kids make, because they know that this is their one chance. And they will never squander the gifts that we were all given to be here today. Thank you.